Welcome to Behind Closed Books, the podcast where business owners and experts reveal the financial decisions that shape their success. Each episode brings you unscripted stories of turning points, hard calls, and the numbers that changed everything to pivot, recover, and grow. If you're building a business and ready to think differently about profit, pressure, and progress, behind every smart decision is a story worth telling. This is the show. Here is your host, Craig Sheets.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Behind Closed Books. My next guest today, you might have deja vu, but don't worry. This is round two. He has a fascinating journey through business and life, trained as a chemist, developing a methodology for effective software demonstrations and discovery conversations. I can't wait to wrap my head more around this discovery conversation, which leads to the founding of his company. He's been in business for 25 years, works with a series of vendor partners, and his approach to business emphasizes the importance of understanding the buyer's process and mapping it to buyer enablement. I mean, we're going to hear a lot of new terms today. I'm excited about this. Rather than following the vendor's sales process, Peter's the author of 3 successful books about business with over 50,000 copies purchased. We're dealing with a celebrity here today. I can't wait. Wait, that's me. When he's not working, he loves to watch sunsets, loves nature and walking and reading to learn history, how things work, and reading comics first things in the morning. With that, everybody, welcome Peter Cohan.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for having me again.
Peter, I am so excited about today. This is our second trip talking with you, and you have the privilege of being our first guest to do a comeback tour.
I feel like I'm on Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, this is like this could be an ongoing guest thing. We're gonna be the quarterly review with Peter Cohan. I can't wait.
There you go.
So I thought we'd talk about, kind of go through like we did last time. We go through real high level some of the things we'll talk about, and then we deep dive in. And I know we're going to hear some catchphrases today, and I already hit one in the intro, but I have a new one here, which is explore more about and I'm going to put it in quotes in the air, but doing the last thing first for demos and avoiding the dreaded harbor tours. That's going to be topic 1 for sure. What is that all about? I love it. Doing discovery is much more than confirming pain. The vendor perceived as doing the superior job in discovery is in a competitively advantageous position. I was worried about that word advantageous, but I got through it. I'm happy.
Well done.
Discuss, prove how much is needed. Our objective is to secure the order with the least expensive form proof. I like that. Buyer enablement, mapping to your buyer's process as opposed to or in addition to your sales process. Seek to reduce the time and friction of buying. And the last one is automated demos, a terrific opportunity to amplify. But we got to dive into the first one first. It's exploring doing the last thing first, and demos, avoiding the dreaded harbor tour. I got to know more about this.
So let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever seen a bad software demonstration?
Oh my God. I get software demos all the time, whether it's tax software, we have CRM software, or tax related, whatever they are. Yes, I've seen bad software demos for sure.
And what would you say makes demos poor? What would you say? What are the hallmarks of bad demos?
2 things. One is the person operating the demo is like, well, I don't know how to do this one feature over here. There's a really cool feature over here, but I don't know how to do it. And the other one is they're going so quick, I don't even know what happened to the whole thing. I'm like trying to watch their hands and what they're doing, and I'm in the, what do they call it, the weeds, as opposed to the sky to watch what's happening.
Say that last part again.
I'm in the weeds. I don't see what's happening because I'm not seeing the sky the whole process.
And that is the wonderful lead in to this idea of doing the last thing first. So let me tell I don't remember if we covered this in the last session, but I'm going to do it again because it's totally apropos. The founding story of the methodology. We were buying, I was leading a team. I was leading a business unit and a team of about, 70 or 75 people. And it was time to get a CRM system because we were international and we needed to coordinate on various customers to make sure everything is communicated well. So we invited a bunch of vendors to reach out to us interestingly, of the 5 that we contacted, only 1 did any significant discovery. Think about that. They all, however, asked for 2-hour demos with our full team, which was, I think, about 8 or 10 people. So if you do the math, 10 hours of demos with 10 people, that's 100 person hours that we invest. That's 2 full weeks and a half. Yeah, well, that's so that's now bear in mind, this is what the buyer goes through in many cases when you're looking at things. But this wasn't the worst of it. The worst of it was the following. All these vendors did the same type of demo. They started off with a corporate overview presentation, although we did not need them or want them because we already knew about the vendors. And then they did these long linear demos of a CRM system. So they started off by saying, let me show you how to set things up like we would ever need to do that ourselves. Let me show you how navigation works in our offering. And then I'm going to start off by generating a record for a new prospect. Let's duplicate that record and put another person in. Let's run a marketing campaign, and on and on and on and on and on and on. Here's where the trouble began. So I was effectively the CRO of this organization. What I was interested in were 3 simple reports. I want to know, what does my current forecast for this quarter look like? Number 2, what is my pipeline going forward over the next 3 or 4 quarters? And number 3, which opportunities do I need to help my team out on? Which needed coaching, etc.
High level stuff, high level issues.
Sky issues, as you articulated it so wonderfully. And instead, we spent 2 hours going through the weeds of all these details and all these options. And here's 7 ways that you can change this and that. And we never got to those reports. We never got to those dashboards, those reports. So at the end of these series of demos, I got the team together and I said, what'd you guys think? And predictably, they were horrified. They were like, this is terrible, it's awful. They didn't understand our needs. They didn't understand our situation. And then I said, guys, I've got bad news. We have been doing the same thing to our prospects. I said, we've got to flip our demos upside down. We've got to stop teaching people how the technology works and instead show the deliverables, the outcomes that our prospects need. So in my case, as the CRO, if somebody was following the Great Demo methodology, presenting to me, he or she would have said, so what are the deliverables you're looking for out of our CRM package? I would have said, it's these 3 screens or reports. And then that clever and intelligent person would have said, well, let me show you those right up front.
And that's the last thing first by that methodology.
Exactly.
Oh my God. That makes perfect sense. Because like I said, when I've gone through the demos, again, this is just my limited knowledge, is they're always showing me these detailed things, exactly like you said, how to create a new client or how many tax clients I have. I said, that's great. I got another software for that. I want to know how the actual software works. What's the output look like? What's the, for certain things, what's the input for these 6 things or 4 things look like? I want to know certain things, but setting up a new client or pressing this button and accessing it this way, I'll learn how to do that on the fly when I get the software.
Would you like a demo horror story?
Oh yes, I love these. These are great. I mean,
we all loved it. So I just did this as a post a few days ago. I had been sent a 90-minute demo recording, and it's which I love to do. I love to watch these things and listen. The first 45 minutes, half of this demo, was showing how you could set up and configure the software. 45 minutes. But wait, it gets worse, because after this person had communicated all this stuff, 45 minutes of setup mode.
That's a long time, way too unnecessary.
The presenter said, but you won't have to do any of this because we set it up for you in implementation. My head exploded at that point, and I reached out to the person that was a pre-sales manager, and I said, who had sent me the demo, and I said, but why? And guess what she said?
Because I wanted to showcase my skill set and something I know how to do, maybe? I don't know. Ego?
No, senior management had mandated that this was a key differentiator. This broad set of capabilities to configure and set up the software. I love your expression. He's got an expression of shock and horror on his face if you're just listening to this. Yeah, she said it's a key differentiator for us. The way it's perceived, and we have been told to include it in every demo. So that is a true life demo horror story. So instead of that, go back to what we were just talking about, which is do discovery, to understand what it is that your prospect is looking for in your offering, and then start with those deliverables. Can you imagine going to buy a car, and you're interested in a hybrid, for example? You go to buy a car, and what is the one thing you want to do before you purchase a car? What would be the one thing?
Oh my God, I'm trying to think. Well, if it's electric car, I guess you want to know gas mileage maybe, or how efficiency it is?
Definitely. But how about hands-on? What would you want to do?
The drive, how does the handle, pick up, slow down, brake? Yeah.
I want a test drive. Yeah. Can you imagine going to a car dealership and having them take you into a back room and say, okay, let me show you how this car was designed? And then let me show you all of our construction techniques. It is very, very important for you to understand, our processes and policies. And let me show you how the mechanism kicks over from gasoline to electric and then back to gasoline. No.
I don't care about that. That's just how it's done. That's a really good analogy that obviously you probably have or did use with people who are doing those, doing the actual presentations. Because as soon as they hear that, they're like, yeah, it all makes sense now. What am I doing? I'm doing it backwards. I'm putting the first thing last.
The hard thing to do. So the concept to do the last thing first is kind of easy to get your mind around. The harder bit is to learn how to do discovery to understand for each specific job title what their desired deliverables are. And a CRM system is a perfect example of this, because if you count up the number of different job titles that might interact with a CRM system, it's easily 11.
Oh my
From
God.
CRO, sales managers, salespeople, pre-sales people, enablement managers, professional services, marketing. It's a broad customer success. It's a huge, broad range of people, all of whom are measured by different objectives. And that's what you need to uncover in discovery, so you can align what you present to their ability to meet or achieve their objectives. How does that resonate?
That's really informative. That makes perfect sense, because it's not a one-stop shop that fits all. Each person or user is going to have a different end goal. Like whether it's tax software with me, maybe I'm going to be reviewing the return, so I care more about the reviewing it because I'm the partner, and maybe the person who's preparing it wants to know the nitty-gritty of where to enter the data.
There you go.
Office manager wants to know how to print the dang return out. She doesn't care about how we did it. She's more like the buyer of the car. I don't care how you guys do it. I want to know how to print out of it. So literally in that example, 3 totally different perspectives on the same software from a presentation standpoint, when we don't care how it's installed because your IT team's going to install it for us. That's again my world. I'm bringing it down to my world, but I'm just kind of doing an analogy because we're in the middle of switching tax software. So I just got a presentation. It's going to happen today in 1 hour after this podcast. It's funny.
So ask that. This will be really fun. Ask them if they've read Peter Cohan's before they start. Ask them, have you read Peter Cohan's great demo? Because if you haven't, I need to beat you up.
I'm going to put that right here. Great. Is it in quotes, literally 2 words? Great demo.
Great demo. It is. Here, I'll hold the book up. It looks just like that. There you go.
That's it. I'm gonna ask them about that and say, if you don't do a good job, I'm gonna mandate you buy it before I work with you any further. We'll hold it over their head.
So now let's take. This is a really interesting conversation, because I had a call with a founder of a company in the UK on Monday, and was talking to her about her demos. And she says, they're just not connecting, and I really don't know why. I get very excited. I feel like I've done sufficient discovery. I understand, she's really understands her market really, really well, which is typical for founders. But she says the demos aren't connecting. And I said, let me ask you a couple of questions. First, are you struggling? I said, how long are your demos? She says, scheduled for an hour. They're always an hour. I said, are you struggling to be able to show everything you want to show in that hour? And she says, oh my God, yeah, I'm always running out of time. And I said, why is that? And she says, well, we keep putting new capabilities into the software and I want to show them. So I said, so what you're basically, what you're doing, yeah, it's like you're trying to put 2 gallons of water in a 1 gallon bucket.
Yes, it's too much.
So I went through the following discussion with her. I said, do you remember you must remember newspapers? And she laughed and said, yes. And I said, well, newspapers and news as presented on the web today. Well, let me ask it this way. So do you still get a physical newspaper, or do you consume news on the web, or both?
With me personally, I do it on the web. I know my father-in-law reads the paper. He's 93, brings it out, reads every section, piece by piece, page by page. I do consume online. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you? So you go to your favorite news website. How do you choose which article you want to read first?
It's usually a caption or a highlight of something, whether it's maybe a 2 cents. It's either the title of it, or maybe I read the first sentence or two of the actual article.
Ah, okay. So you scan the headline and you scan the images. You choose. You click in and you read how much?
Maybe the first sentence or two. Then after a while, I'm like, oh, that's just not what I thought it was going to be about, or it's not a well-read article. So it's usually a first sentence or two, maybe 2 sentences.
Okay. And even for articles that you're really interested in, do you read them all the way to the end?
No, I will scan. I'll do the old SQRR, whatever, scan it, kind of read it, understand the highlights of it. If there's something like really important, one paragraph, I might read every single piece of it, but I'll kind of scan through it in like 30 seconds, maybe, top to bottom.
News services, newspapers and news services have been presenting information for several hundreds of years, and they've learned some really intelligent ways to manage the process, one of which is known as inverted pyramid. So the visualize, an upside down pyramid of Giza. And the idea is very simple. You put the most important piece of information at the very top. And then as you go deeper, you get to slightly less important, more details. And the idea is very effective and delightful. You, as the consumer of this information, get what you need in as much depth as you have interest.
Wow, that makes perfect sense, because I can consume that first maybe paragraph's worth of data and get all I needed to know. It's just it in and out like a bank robber. Didn't need to know all the details. Or if it's about a new tax code, you can guarantee I'm reading down.
You're going to want to go.
I'll know who wrote it, what date they wrote it. I'm scanning every inch of that thing. But if it's a general news story, I might just paragraph or so.
Exactly. And so one of the things we did as we developed this methodology is we applied inverted pyramid to presenting demos. So doing the last thing first is that, if you will, that inverted base of the pyramid. It's the biggest, most important part. But then how much you show should be aligned to the level of interest and depth of interest of each individual job title. So let's take an example. Let's take the CRM example. If that 2-hour demo could have been done in 6 minutes for me by simply saying, Cohan, what is it you're looking for out of this package? I say these three screens, dashboards, reports. They show them to me, describe what I'm seeing, help me understand the value associated with how they're doing it. And then as an executive, I'm done. Now, I'm out. Now, let's say the next person in line is a middle manager, a sales manager. Okay. So he or she is probably going to want to go a little bit deeper. In addition to those reports, they want to see, well, where's my team in terms of their skill sets and coming up to speed. I've got 2 new hires. I've got 6 people that have been here for several years. I need to be able to track their process, their growth, and so forth. See, where do I need to coach them and so forth. So that middle manager is going to go deeper. Let's just staying in the sales vein. Salesperson, that person's actually, in addition to some types of dashboard materials, like what are my tasks for today? What are my opportunities? Where are my ticklers and my reminders? But then also, okay, I gotta enter a new record. I want to find the fastest, easiest way to do that. Show that to me. By the way, don't show me 3 different options. Just show me the one fast way. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And then there's a 4th player in my example here, and that's the system administrator. And that person's interests are completely out of alignment with everyone else. That person wants to know, how do I set up the system? How do I configure it? How do I add a new user? How do I eliminate a user, and so forth? So that is effectively 4 distinctly different demos, like 4 separate news articles for 4 different readers.
Right. And they could what they could do efficiency purposes, they could have the same presentation in the 1 hour and just peel each person off, hit your topic first, you're gone, next person, they're gone, next person. Or they could do set 15-minute demos for 4 different people, which would still be an hour. And that way you're not wasting the time of everybody either.
And in fact, that is exactly what is recommended in the methodology. You invite people to stay as long as they wish, but as they are satisfied, you give them leave to bail.
Peel off. Yeah.
Yeah, peel off. And in fact, peeling back the layers is one of the phrases of the methodology. Is you peel back the layers in as much depth as your particular prospect player has interest. And by the way, a colleague of mine, this was years ago, says, Cohan, peeling back the layers. It's just like peeling back the layers of an onion. And I thought for a moment, I could see where this is going, but I had to ask him. I said, what do you mean? He says, yeah, well, what happens if you peel back the layers of an onion too far? You cry.
That's actually really good. I like that. Hey, you would cry if you have to sit there for the demo and you don't even get what you want out of it. And that's your confirming pain. That was the one thing you mentioned earlier. I guess maybe I mentioned it, but I think I got it from you, is the confirming pain is the pain point of each person on the demo or the listener. Is that the part of the discovery that's important?
That's part of it. Yeah, absolutely. The presumption that everybody has homogeneous pain is absurd. Imagine having stomach pain and going to a doctor and having the doctor says, "Oh, this has been going around. Everybody has it. We're just going to sign you up for surgery and remove your appendix."
No, don't do that.
Well, that is what is often happening in the sad world of sales. So
right, okay, using a scalpel rather than or whatever you call it.
Well, using a scalpel instead of doing diagnosis.
Yes, you're right. That's a good one.
Actually, let's segue to that because, well, 1, because you precipitated it, and 2, because it's fun. Let's say that. By the way, I don't know why, but this little exercise works better with the female side than the male side, but we're going to try it anyway. I know how to fix this. Let's say that your wife feels that that's stupid. Let's just do you. Let's say you've had the flu, what you think is the flu, for a week, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to go to the doctor. I only go to the doctor when I feel like, okay, this is really scary and beginning to feel dangerous. So a week has passed. You finally say, all right, or your wife says, go to the doctor. What the hell's the matter with you? And you go to the doctor. You present to doctor number 1 at hospital number 1, and you say, I think I have the flu. And I'll play doctor number 1. So go ahead and say, I think I have the flu.
I think I have the flu, and I'm not feeling too well.
Okay. And I'm doctor number 1. I say, you know what? It's been going around. Everybody has it in your neck of the woods. I'm going to write you a prescription here for a powerful new flu medicine called Flu Be Gone. Here, reach out, and if you can grab this.
I got it.
There you go. And start.
There we go.
There you go. Perfect. Start taking. See, you can do things over the web. So, and I say, so start taking those pills, and you should start feeling better in about 2 days. Okay. 2 questions. Number 1, would you get that how did you, number one, how did you feel about that interaction? And number two, would you,
Seemed to be very generic, and I just assumed, well, the doctor knows what he's talking about, but I don't know if he really heard what I was saying, because I said I have, I think I have a flu, but I self-diagnosed myself. I don't know what I have. I think that's what I had.
so you're not convinced. And would you start taking those pills?
It's interesting you said that, because as I was grabbing the script, I'm thinking, there's no way I'm taking those pills.
There you go. Well, thank you. That's perfect. So you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Go across town to hospital number two, doctor number two. You present and you say exactly the same thing. Hey, doc, I think I have the flu.
Hey, doc, I think I got the flu. Not feeling too well. I'm not sure what to do about it.
How long's been going on?
7 days.
7 days. Wow. And have you been running a fever?
Yeah, I have a fever, and my sometimes my back hurts a little bit, and my chest. I'm coughing.
Coughing, huh? Okay. Any phlegm?
Yeah, I pull up phlegm, and not always the best color. I don't want to go through the rainbow, but
Thank you for sure. Thank God I'm a doctor. Any headaches?
yeah, sometimes I get a headache as well.
In the front or sinus?
Usually
or
around the front, towards the front of it.
Okay. And you've had you've had a fever. Have you been sweating as well?
Yeah, sometimes at night I find myself sweating, can't sleep, and like the headaches come back, and the chest congestion, it gets worse in the morning, and just I feel run down.
Okay, so we continue this conversation for a few more doctor minutes, which, as anyone knows, is a long time, is a doctor minute when you're bitching. At the end of that conversation, doctor number two prescribes exactly the same flu begone medicine, okay? Except in this case, doctor number two is more modern and sends you an prescription so you can get it filled electronically. Same two questions before. How did you feel about that interaction, and what's the likelihood you'd start taking those pills?
I feel much better. I feel like he listened to me. He understood what I was trying to say. He was pulling questions out of me and asking me questions, the doctor diagnosing me, rather than me feeding him answers. So I felt more comfortable. And I think with this prescription, grab it back out, I probably take that prescription more likely than the first one.
So there's an interesting moral here, because both doctors were right. Both doctors prescribed the same solution. However, you trust and believe doctor number two because he did discovery. He diagnosed before offering a solution. And that is, in many cases, the single biggest challenge for young organizations and founders. Founders are so tuned into what their prospects want and need that they presume to already know the answers.
I can definitely equate to that, and what I do sometimes. I'm sure I'm a victim of that. I try not to be, but I could see that could happen. I could see that could happen.
Let me tell you another small story. So I was with this is when I was a young product manager, and I was out supporting one of our best salespeople, Carol, at Research Triangle Park down in North Carolina. And we're in a chemistry lab, and we're chatting with a couple medicinal chemists. And Carol says, "Could you guys just walk me through your workflow, through your process of synthesizing and testing, small molecule drug candidates?" And I looked at her sharply with a question mark over my head, but I didn't say anything because she was a lot smarter than I was. But that evening at dinner at wherever the heck we were, I said, "Why did you ask them to outline their workflow? You know it intimately," and she does. She knows that workflow intimately. She says, "Yeah," and she had a wonderful North Carolina accent, which I cannot imitate. But she said, to hear it that way, she said, "Well, yeah, I know." So you got to hear that. I know their workflow, but I need them to understand that I know their workflow as they describe it.
Oh my God. Wow, that is profound. What a different perspective.
And you just proved it with our little exercise with the two doctors. So you've got to even if you already know the right answer, you need to make sure your prospect feels diagnosed, has that you've asked sufficient questions.
Heard, seen, believed, provided for, the whole package. It is hard, and it's hard. I'll tell you from my perspective, and now I'm speaking against what you're saying in good, for why it's hard though, because when you think you see the problem and you think you have the answer, and maybe again, like Dr. One, you're right. You just want to cut through the middle part and go, right, let's go here, A to C. We're done. Now I can go on to the next A to C. But you're right, the B part is important both for the listener or the client or patient, whoever they may be, but also you may pull something out of that and may be wrong sometimes too. You may not even apply correctly.
One of the we were chatting a little bit about AI last time. One of the challenges with AI is that it tends to ignore outliers and exceptions. And in the act of doing discovery, one of the most important things, well, I will do this in form of the question. Would you say that your business is unique?
Oh, ooh. I want to say it's unique, but there's so many people doing, I guess, accounting, but the way I do accounting is unique. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to just be.
Okay. And the true answer is it probably is unique, but in the broad swath, it probably
It
is
probably isn't.
not.
Yeah, that's why I was back and forth. I kept saying the same thing. I'm not, but I am. But so no, in the broad brush scope, I'm not. But I want to be.
But when you're doing discovery, you want to uncover and understand your prospects' perceived uniquenesses, perceived or real uniquenesses, which is often the case.
Okay, interesting. Right.
I'll give you an example. One set of questions I love to ask about is the prospect's culture, their business culture. Are they a startup? Are they a stodgy, old school company? Are they? I track a lot of the more interesting things that I hear, and it's like for a period of time when I was represent. Well, we had these high throughput screening systems for drug discovery. One of the groups that we would often encounter in large, otherwise stodgy organizations were technology assessment teams who tended to be more on the if you look at the technology adoption curve, they were way over in the left. They were the innovator, early adopter types. However, their organizations were way over on the right. They were, late majority organizations.
Right. Okay.
So one group would announce when I asked, well, how would you describe your culture? And I said, well, as a company, we're stodgy and slow, but as our team, we're the I think he described it as, it was funny, we're the express portion of the glacier.
So we get right to
So
it.
yeah. So understanding an organization's real or perceived uniqueness can be extraordinarily important in that perception that you have thoroughly discovered their situation. You've done sufficient diagnosis. Does that help?
Yeah, man, it helps. And is there something I'm trying to think? One of the things what were we talking about in the intro? Was it discuss proof? Was that something that we did that cover that part as well? Because the portion of discovery, obviously, you're discussing how much is needed. The objective is you want to secure least expensive form of proof, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're getting enough proof as well. So does that cover that part of it as well, or did I miss?
No. Let's peel back this layer.
Oh, let's not cry, but we'll come back more with the onion. I like this.
So you said you're gonna see a demo in well, now it's like 50 minutes or something if we don't run over. So for you, will the demo be sufficient for you to say, if you like it, what you're seeing, to say, okay, yeah, we'll purchase? Or are you going to ask, do you want to put your hands on the product and actually operate it for a period of time? What level? I love your thinking here. What level of proof do you feel you need?
That's a good question. So I have a colleague joining me because I wanted to make sure I don't make any rush decisions. So I wanted him to there to kind of slow the process down so we both can think of questions rather than just me. And I would say I did some research ahead of time. I've been using this just in general, software in general for this purpose for 30 years, 25 years of my life. So I know in general what I'm looking for. So I'm probably going to ask really detailed questions as to, where the input side goes, even though I'm not doing the inputting. So my team of preparers can know where they would go. I'm going to ask some questions about the output side, which is for the management, for my office manager to print the reports. And I'm going to ask questions about the review process, double click check marks and all these little things you can do to reviewers. So I'm going to try and wear three hats inside that meeting. And if I know the idea of the product enough. I'm hoping I have enough to be able to make the decision on the phone today. But now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, it would be nice to get my hands on it as well. It's funny you said that. You made me think something new. I didn't even think about that.
So this is exactly where I'm going. Depending on where each person sits, if you will, on the technology adoption curve, they require different levels of proof. So just very, very simply, an innovator may require zero proof. They love the idea. They're totally excited by it. They don't even yet know how they're going to use it in some cases. AI is a lot of AI is that way today. But they're just all excited about it. They'll buy it because they love it. Early adopters, a very simple demo may be sufficient. As you move into the early majority, you're going to need more depth in the demo, which is really what you were describing. There's a lot of questions. I've got a list I want to go see. I need to see these reports. Yeah, maybe I even want to put my hands on it a little bit. As you move further to the right and begin to hit the late majority, now they want to actually set it up and make it work in their hands. They want to do what is called a proof of concept, or even a little bit deeper, a proof of value, or even a long-term pilot. And of course, when you get to the laggards at the far end, no amount of proof is going to help. they're not just not going to move, period. So here's something to contemplate. For the early phase folks, well, I'll ask you this. What would you say is the least expensive form of proof?
The least expensive form of proof? I mean, not seeing the product, or I'm just trying to think what it would be. I don't know. I don't even know. Actually. I never thought about that.
So when I was leading this team, I was looking at some visualization tools, and I called a colleague that I knew and respected for years and said, "Hey, Kevin, we're contemplating buying blah blah package. Two quick questions for you. Number one, is it doing what you wanted to do? And number two, would you buy it again?" And on the strength of the two yes answers, we purchased.
Wow. Okay. So you had a colleague verify their use. Is that what you said? That you talked to somebody who was using it?
Yeah, it's a different company. It was leading a different organization. But that is the least expensive form of proof. A phone call.
Oh my God, a phone call.
Yeah. Or if you know that you used something before at a previous company and you just know you want it, you buy it. Self proof, right? Um, yeah, so those are the two least expensive forms of proof, and then you begin to go down the list. So a reference call, which is what that was. The next is basically a light demo. The next is what we call a technical proof demo. The next is putting your hands and fingers on the mouse and the keyboard. That's called a proof of concept. Does it work in my hands? The next below that is a proof of value, which is not only I want to use it in our hands, but I want to make sure that the value equation actually operates. So you're tracking, is it really reducing the time by 50% type, for this thing? So now, and each of these forms of proof, as you go lower and lower, if you will, or deeper and deeper, get increasingly expensive. Hence, our objective as a vendor and frankly as a prospect is to secure the order with the least expensive form of proof.
Right, with a demo taking more time than just explaining the features, and then giving them the product.
Or a call, yeah.
Is going to take more, because then you got to do a demo and give them the right. I see what you're saying. Each one is
right, and train them and teach them. Yeah.
And then is there a relation though with the cost of the product being sold deserves more time and is justified with more time because the cost of the product that's being sold has to have more proof of concept than others?
Generally speaking, that is true. I mean, the more complex, the more expensive any particular software is, and in particular, the more use cases, like a CRM system, has multiple use cases, dozens of use cases, the more likely that you're going to have deeper forms of proof required. Absolutely. But that being said, that visualization software that I was talking about, I actually purchased it twice. so at two different organizations. So So in that case, the first time the proof was a little bit deeper, but the second time I just went buying it.
I know it. Been there, done that. I like it because you know the product. That was one of your highest proofs that you said was the fact you've used it before or had prior.
Yeah, exactly. So as a founder selling software, you should be asking the questions along the lines of, what level of proof are you looking for? Because you may not. So as a early stage founder, you may not want or need to invest your time with people that are the late majority, who are going to require extensive, long trial periods and expensive forms of proof. You may want to gently but firmly say, let me come back to you in a few months,
Right.
for
Yeah.
example,
Try to get.
and go with people that are much more willing to take a chance.
Well, but the part that scares you is if you end up investing all your time into it and getting all your rollover of data into it, and then you're 6 months into it and find out, oh my gosh, there's these limitations I didn't know about. That's the fear that sticks in the back of your head, thinking, oh my gosh, I just put all my time and energy into rolling this in and uploading all the data from my prior software. And now all of a sudden I got a sunk cost because I didn't think about blank, blank, blank to ask that ahead of time. Dang it. And that just, it lingers in your head. And it's just always this little gremlin that sticks in your head. What am I forgetting to ask about? What am I forgetting to ask about? What am I forgetting to ask about? It's like this weird little gremlin in your head.
Absolutely.
And that's why we got to do it. So buyer enablement, is that covered by that process as well? The mapping of your buyer's process we talked about and how to seek to reduce time. That's what we were just talking about just there then. Is that
So this leads to it. So traditionally, people in revenue generating organizations follow a sales process, which is the vendor's series of steps. So first, I'm going to identify you as a lead. First, I will qualify you as a lead.
right? Okay.
And by the way, God help you if you're just browsing and you're not in an active buying process, because you'll get spilled out of the funnel and ignored. Which is what I call lead churn, by the way, but let that go. So forcing your prospect to follow your sales process can have some really bad consequences, like what I just said. If I'm just actually, this is a really good example. This happened to me several times. This is why I drafted an article called "The Horrors of Lead Churn." So I'm in a board of directors of a software organization, 20 years, and occasionally I will reach out to vendors because I'm curious about new technologies, new offerings, or whatever. And I reached out to this one vendor via their intake form, and I said, I want to book a demo. I want to see this. And I got a call from an SDR who asked the four BANT questions. He said, "Is this something that's budgeted?" And I answered honestly, which was my mistake. I said, "Well, not yet." He said, "Are you the person in charge? Do you have the authority to buy?" And I said, "Well, I'm the board of directors, so I can give some guidance, but I'm not making the purchase decision." Uh-huh. He says, "Do you have a well-defined set of needs?" I said, "No, we're just in the early stages of exploration." He said, "Do you have a timeline?" I said, "No, what I just said, we're in the early stages of exploration." And guess what happened?
He didn't take the call anymore. He didn't call you back or ended the call?
Well, he basically said, "Well, you're not qualified, and so we're not going to waste our expensive salesperson's time showing you a demo."
Wow. Oh my God.
So I was a lead that churned even before I hit their funnel. And do you think I ever went back to them?
No. Did you? No, you would.
I didn't. There were several players in this space, and I purposefully said, "I don't think we should buy from these guys because blah 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 blah. Their process is out of alignment with ours." So buyer enablement says, effectively, let's understand the buyer's process and interests and try to map to that. And to give a couple of simple examples, if I'm an experienced buyer, I know how to do things, in my organization. I know when to get legal involved. I know when to get purchasing involved. I know when to get IT involved. And I know in what order things need to take place. I know I may have a committee of people that I have to work with and gently but firmly beat them over the heads until they agree, convinced. And the sales person that does not respect that is at risk. If they say something like, hey, we know you've asked for a demo. We want to tell you to get all of your team together in one room because that is the most effective way of doing it. And I might say something inside my brain that would be like, no, it's not in our organization. I want to divide this up between the three, departments because their perspectives are very different and I don't want to waste their time.
Totally different.
Like,
And we talked about earlier, even in my example, bringing it back to, I'm just bringing it, happened to be a real life. I wouldn't have brought it up otherwise, but exactly my case where I got the office manager cares different than the preparer, which cares different than me. Same thing. Now we're talking managers, senior managers, office, managers, et cetera. But each person has a different need for the software. Each person looks at it in a different way. And the other ones are tuning out when someone's like, oh yeah, okay, great. How do you print something? I don't care. And the other one's going, yeah, how do you check lead sources? I don't, where you're tuning out. Then when you're tuning out, you're not following the demo where you want to have it specifically to like, what is your 2 or 3 needs that you want to work on. That makes perfect sense. It's so intuitive that it's amazing that people just the discovery process and going through to figure out what people need and putting the last thing first, it gets their attention. And then, like you said, the upside down pyramid, then if the person's more interested, you might get into the, hey, you know what, how do you install this? I'm just curious. We don't have an IT team. We run a lean process. Is this going to be hard for me to install, and et cetera, as you get farther and farther down the line into the more interested questions?
there you go. There's a but wait, there's more, because buyer enablement. Yeah. So part one of buyer enablement is seeking to understand your prospects' buying process and their skill set. So if you're dealing with an experienced buyer, then you just say to them, so walk me through what you want us to do. Basically, it's very simple, right? How do you want? Do you want a demo? Do you want a big demo, a little demo? What do you want? What if you're dealing with a new manager who's never purchased before? So there you may need to actually offer them guidance. Hey, dear newly minted manager, would you like some suggestions about, basically establishing a buyer process in your organization? And most typically they'll say, yes, please, really would help with that. So a small example, very frequently I'd be dealing with young pre-sales leaders who had never purchased software before or services. And I'd say, well, in order to get a sense of how your team's doing, can you send me a handful of recordings of their current discovery and demo calls? And they say, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. It's a great idea. And then I'd say, before we do that, why don't you ask your legal department to send me their standard mutual non-disclosure form, because we should really make sure that you and we are covered as going there. He goes, oh, yeah. Hadn't thought about that. So anticipating what your buyer needs is part of and suggesting it or proposing it is part of buyer enablement. And a great example, and you may even encounter this today in your demo, a great example is if you know that the software that your prospect is looking at is going to require a data security and privacy audit, for example.
Okay.
Suggest it early, because that's something that often takes a lot of time. It could take days or weeks working with other people in the organization. Similarly, if it requires any kind of special or unique licensing structure, same thing. Let's start talking to legal now. Let's start talking to IT and your data security and privacy efficacy folks.
So you're predicting what the client's going to need before they do, because you've been doing this long enough in your field to know what the next step is, step 3 and 4 before they do, and you're kind of jumping ahead to help them out in a way.
Yeah, our job as a vendor is to make, as I think you read it in the introduction, is to make buying as frictionless and as easy as possible.
Yes, 100%. And that's what today's with the demo I'm going to be dealing with. I want it to be easy, but I also want to make sure my questions are answered, because I got a specific set of questions in my head that I want to ask about, because I know some of the problems I've had with this particular, not this, but a software in the past. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to ask these questions today to make sure I'm ready to use this software, because I know what pain points I've had with the old software before. So now I know specifically, bam, 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 ask these questions to make sure that they can be done with this software. So I'm coming in as an informed person, but kind of coming in with nitty gritty. But then I know I'm going to speak for my team member with the preparer, and the other team member is my office manager, and wear their hats as well during this call. So I know that process is easy as well.
I think I may have helped you prepare for your demo
You
today.
did. I didn't even mean for this to happen. It was like kind of it was a beautiful, beautiful synergy that it happened today. Because literally, like I said, it happens today. I'm like, oh, I got a demo today. I didn't even think about it with the fact that it's meeting with you today, but I'm like, that was perfect synergy today that happens.
By the way, would you like my very favorite discovery question, which I like to offer at the very end of a discovery call?
So this will be me asking the person, or this what you would ask the buyer?
This is what I would ask. This is what I would ask if I was a vendor. I would say, after going through everything I wanted to go through, I would ask, is there anything I haven't asked that I should be asking?
Ooh.
And you get two sets of answers. The first is, no, I think we've actually covered everything. Okay, good. Check. And the other is, oh, actually,
And I'm the number two guy. Actually, wait a minute. How
there's
about
one more important thing. Yeah.
in there's a weird analogy in therapy? They call it doorknob therapy. As you think of something as you walk out the door, it's like
It's that's the doorknob effect. Physicians see this all the time, where you go. It's like, my stomach is bothering me, and you have a 15-minute interaction with a doctor, but you've never really said to the doctor what is really bothering you, because you'd hoped that they would uncover it through their diagnostic methods. And the doorknob effect is described as the doctor is reaching for the door to open it, the patient.
yeah.
By the way, one more thing. It's a sharp pain right here.
Right here.
Doctor turns around, comes back, sits down, and says, "Tell me about the pain."
There it is. Doorknob therapy, doorknob medicine, doorknob demos.
Yeah, well documented. Check it out on, Google it, as they say.
I'm gonna Google it. Man, did we cover everything? Was the last topic was automated demos, a terrific opportunity to amplify, was our last topic of the day. I think we covered part of that today, didn't we, in the topic?
We did. Applying these same concepts to an automated demo is really the answer. Far too many automated demos are basically automated versions of the Stunningly Awful Harbor Tour. So what is a Stunningly Awful Harbor Tour? So that's a traditional demo. I was doing this years ago. I was doing a workshop in Germany. I think it was like 2005. And I was describing the traditional demo, the painful demos, in terms of, first you do this, and then you set up the system. Here's the navigation. Let me show you how to do this. Let me show you how to do this. And a woman in the audience says, she says, "You mean the harbor tour?" And I said, I'd never heard that term before. I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "It's like a harbor tour. You take the prospect, you put them on the boat, they can't get off, and you drive them around the harbor for 2 hours, continually asking them, 'Have you seen anything you like so far?'"
Oh my God. Wow. It's painful for them. Yeah. You're not giving them anything. You're like, oh my God, this is not what I want to be doing. The harbor tour. I love that analogy. We talked about it, but I forgot to circle back. I was going to circle back to the harbor tour. So the automated demo is what? Something that's automated based on what you know from discovery, and then pinpointed it in an automated demo sent to the prospect.
Affirmative. Exactly that.
Because the harbor tour, I think people have already been on real harbor tours, maybe around San Francisco or somewhere else like that, and you're like, oh my God, I can't watch this thing again. I've seen 25 seals today, or whatever it is. I'm getting off this thing. I want to go to the beach and relax and have a drink at a nice bar, or have a lunch, or whatever it is. But I want off this boat.
I've been feeling a touch of malaria coming on. I'll take a gin and tonic, please.
That's a good one. I like that.
So the point about automated demos is twofold. One is, you still need to be targeted. You still need to use inverted pyramid. You still very much need to do the last thing first. And what you generally are trying to do with an automated demo is what is known as vision generation. Vision generation is just enough to spark interest, just enough. And the way I like to do this is, It's an appetizer, not a 7-course meal.
Okay, I like that. That's a good analogy. Yeah, just enough to have come back for more.
Yep, exactly that.
Just a bite. You've made it so interesting to walk through the process, but I think what you could do is kind of tell people, number one, how to get a hold of you, the names of your books, and then remind everybody again where you're located. Maybe those three things: your book names, how to get a hold of you, where you're located. I know the location probably doesn't matter, you work virtually, but just for discussion purposes, as we wind down today, because there's a lot of good information here. I can't wait for everybody to listen to.
So the easiest way to get a hold of me and the team is through greatdemo.com. That has an enormous treasure trove of resources of blog posts. In fact, some of the things we actually talked about today are recent blog posts. There, for the founders that are listening, go to the articles portion of the resources tab, because you will find articles on almost everything we've talked about and more, including elements of the methodologies and so forth. And then the 3 books, the one I'm happiest about is this one here called Suspending Disbelief, which is literally 34 real life stories and lessons learned that could save a founder months or years of frustration by having the ideas revealed now as opposed to learning them the hard way. Second book is called Great Demo. It is in its 3rd edition. Everything's available on Amazon. And the book that I should have written first is called Doing Discovery, which again describes the methodology that we were touching on today.
I'm ready.
There you go. Suspending Disbelief, Great Demo, and Doing Discovery. And to answer your last question, I am located in wonderful Trinidad, California, 300 miles north of San Francisco, right on the coast, and right now in the fog.
Oh wow, but that's very Northern California to be in the fog. That's part and parcel, isn't it, up there?
It absolutely, yep.
What's the name of the website again? I was listening to. I wanted to make sure that I've written down for everybody again. The website.
The website is greatdemo.com.
Easy one, easy peasy. Okay, so I wanted to thank everybody for I want to thank you, I should say, for talking to everybody and how exciting the topics are. From not only, I think what people are going to get confused about is I need to be a salesperson to listen and work with you, but I don't think that's the case. I think
Be a doctor. Be a doctor.
yeah, I think anybody could benefit from this.
I would submit to you that the best salespeople have a mindset of a doctor. First, do no harm,
That's a good one. Yeah, do no harm. I like that. Yeah.
and then diagnose carefully before prescribing. And your prescription might actually easily end up to be, you know what? We're not the best fit for you. Let me recommend somebody else. And you know what? That will go miles and your prospects will come back. But just be a doctor. Just be a doctor.
I love that. Those 3, be a doctor. That's really a good way to put it. And I think people get confused that I'm not in a sales role. I don't do sales. I think almost everybody in the business world at some level, no matter what position you are or could be, is in some type of sales role, whether your boss is your, you're selling in, not really selling to him, but you're kind of selling in a sense, but you also have an idea of how to discover, how to listen, ask questions, and not just assume things. And reading the books, I think it can go a long way to help people out with that.
The the only difference between sales and persuasion?
No.
Exchange of money.
Okay. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
We are every day, in every way, we are gently or firmly trying to persuade others. But it could be as simple as, you and your wife, where do you want to go to dinner? I want to go to Mexican. I don't really want Mexican. Where's the conversation go from there? One or the other is trying to persuade to go or not go to Mexican.
Go
right?
not to go to Mexico. It's funny, we had that last night because yesterday was Cinco de Mayo.
Exactly.
And I went out with my father-in-law to dinner, and she stayed home, so that didn't end too well. But
oh no, sorry to hear that. Well, so the only difference between sales and other forms of persuasion is the exchange of money in sales. That's it.
Wow. Okay. Persuasion. I think everyone's in a capacity of selling. They just don't know it. So this is, I'm so glad you came on today. Having a follow-up. Number one, you're the first guest to have a follow-up. Number two, the most informative to really realize that everybody can use your product and to buy your and to listen to your well, you're not doing an audio podcast. You're doing the books. There's only a books. There's no audio version. Is that correct?
So Great Demo and Doing Discovery have audiobook versions, and I'm working on one for Suspending Disbelief.
Okay. I thought they were, and I spoke too soon because I wasn't sure which one. So I got that. So you can listen to it or read it, and they can also get a hold of you. I'm really glad you came on today. Thank you for following up today, and I know my listeners will be glad to hear everything.
Pleasure was truly mine. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate it. Have a good day, and I'll see everybody on the next episode of Behind Closed Books.
Behind Closed Books podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.